Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are taking a look at another Terra by Battat figure, and this is actually the last of the newer repainted versions of these regular-sized Terra by Battat figures, but this one is no longer available. It's for some reason the only one that I can recall that was discontinued from the newer line a while back, and I have absolutely no idea why. This is their Nanshiungasaurus. I believe that is how you say the name anyway. I'm not very familiar with this species, as I haven't really heard too much about it, and in fact, Terra by Battat, I believe, is the only company that I can think of right now that actually has a figure out of it. So it's a very cool, very obscure species, looks very similar, clearly, to a Therizanosaurus, but again, it's pretty obscure. You don't really see companies make this species at all, and unfortunately for me, it's a figure that I really know very little about the species at all. So again, hopefully I pronounced the name correctly, but I think it looks great overall. The figure is really probably one of my favorite Terra by Battat figures that they released. I think that it's so cool looking, and it's a shame that it was retired so early on, making it currently a little pricey to get a hold of at times, but at least the prices for it aren't off the charts like some older Carnegie figures are, so it's still obtainable for a reasonable price, but it's definitely a little pricier to buy now than it was when it was actually in store at Target. But regardless, I still think the figure is awesome. Really excited to get a nice closer look at it with you guys right now, so let's do that and take a look at the beauty of this fantastic Terra by Battat figure up close. So starting up here at the head sculpt, look at how beautiful that is. Really nicely detailed. You've got some beautiful detailing all over the head, the very nicely sculpted out nostrils. You've also got some really nice detailing around the eye, and the eye actually has kind of like a border of a grayish color, and then a yellow eye and a very large black pupil that is glossed beautifully. It looks very realistic and alive, but I love the fact that they've bordered the eye with that gray because it really highlights the eye in beautiful fashion. You can see the beak up here on the tip of the mouth is painted with a nice grayish color, like a dark gray. The figure overall has a bit of a shiny appearance, but specifically that beak area appears to be glossed a little bit, I believe, as well. It definitely shines quite a bit. But overall, the head and the entire body does have a little bit of a shine to it, more so the head, I think, than anywhere else. The head primarily is like a maroonish type of a color. You see a little bit of yellow here on the lower jaw, and then it transitions to like this light creamy color here in the throat, which does end up being the primary underside of the dinosaur. And then you can see that maroon kind of stripes down through the middle of the neck, and you also see a stripe pickup of that yellow that runs down here into the body. It's like a yellowish brown, and then up here in the middle of the spinal column, it is nicely highlighted with a dark gray. So there's quite a bit of paint variation in the head and neck area, lots of striping going on, which helps to give it a really cool appearance as far as I'm concerned. Once you lead down here into the neck, you can see some very nice detailing. You've got the beautiful skin here kind of hanging a little bit here in the throat section, but you can also see it kind of wrinkling and twisting with the movement of the neck, because the neck is turned nicely to the left, so you can really see that beautifully displayed right there in the throat region of the dinosaur, along with the nice creases in the skin as you move down the neck. I feel like that the movement of the neck is really nicely shown there when it comes to the left turn that the head has currently going on. Once you move down here into the body, the skin texture looks really nice as well. You've got the very nicely sculpted out shoulder blade right there. Lots of creasing and everything going on as far as the skin detail goes. Moving down here into the wonderful looking arms, you've got some very nice detailing as we lead down the arm into these very nicely sculpted hands. They are painted with a nice brownish coloration here, a dark brown that runs over top of the hand and then the fingers as well, which you can also see the yellowish brown creeping through. And then the actual underside of the hand, you can see over here on this hand, is the same light creamy color that is the underside of the dinosaur in the palm of the hand. The nails are painted with a nice blackish coloration, very beautifully sculpted, nice and long like you would expect to find on this animal, and they also have a bit of a gloss coat to them to help them shine fairly realistically. Once you come back up here into the body, you can again see some nice creasing going on here in the stomach as far as skin folding and skin bunching up, especially as this leg is pushing into the body a little bit there. You've got the beautifully sculpted out hip bone, and then lots of creasing going down the thigh. You can also take note of some of the musculature of the thigh. As we move down the body, that creasing continues It looks really good as we get down into the foot, and the foot sculpt looks fantastic and has a similar appearance as far as paint goes to having that brown kind of run over a little bit of the foot and then down onto the toes. And then primarily the leg transitions from that yellowish brown to this lighter coloration. It's like a white for the underbelly and then the lower half of the legs, and you can see also that the nails are painted beautifully with that same similar coloration to what you see up here on the nails of the hand. Nice dew claws painted out as well and glossed quite nicely. As we lead back into the tail, you can again see lots of really nice skin texture all over the dinosaur. You can also kind of get a sense of the bone structure of the tail as we lead out this very nice, very short tail. We do also have a cloaca here on the underside, which is really cool to see. Very nice realism of the figure. This side of the head also looks really, really nice. The dinosaur almost has like a startled appearance to it, like maybe it's trying to look down at the ground. Something small might have ran by and kind of startled the dinosaur. That's sort of the appearance of what the head is portraying to me as far as I'm concerned. Again, really nice detailing in the throat, and then the neck really showing the twisting of the neck as far as the dinosaur having its head turned to the left. You've got the really nice shoulder blade once again, beautiful arm sculpt. As we move down into the hands, you can again see how fantastic that hand sculpt is. Nice brownish coloration that runs over top of the hand. Beautifully painted nails on this side. This hand actually helps to balance the figure out as it is down on the ground. Of course, it's not meant to portray that the dinosaur is a quadrupedal animal, it's just a balancing issue. Looking at the stomach, you can see lots of really nice skin texture. The dinosaur does appear to be pretty thick, like most therizinosaurs usually are, or at least that's the way they're portrayed, like big, fat, goofy-looking animals for the most part, but they're beautiful, beautiful dinosaurs for sure. You can see lots of really nice detailing here on the underside of the dinosaur as well. Coming back up into the body, you can see the hip bone protruding nicely from the skin, very large thighs and calf. As we run down the body, you've got the kneecap there a little bit present. Very nice foot sculpt over here, just like we saw on the previous side, with that nice brown that runs along the toes, and then the nice grayish coloration or blackish coloration here for the nails that again are glossed quite beautifully. Even the back of the foot here, as far as the sculpt goes, looks really good. Beautiful skin texture as we lead back up the leg, and then we run out the very short tail, which again looks great on this side, just like we saw on the opposing side. Has a little bit of a curve, almost in a downward position towards the dinosaur's left side. So really, really nice sculpt overall. The paint is also quite nice. So this is, again, one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite Terra by Battat figures, and it's really sad that it is discontinued. As far as a size goes, for a length, from the tip of the mouth, if we can get it to stay there, to the tail, you are looking at about 6 inches almost on the dot, or about 15 centimeters. And then for a height, about 4, almost 4¼ inches, or around 11 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon helping to show us what the size of this dinosaur is. It's very similar as far as an Attack Pack figure goes. It's around that same size, so you know it's a pretty small figure, but at the same time, I think it's also quite nicely sized. It's nothing that I would say is even close to too small, but it's not as big as most Therizinosaur style figures that you would see. I really think that it is a fantastic size for this figure, so really beautiful, and hopefully these figures here next to it will give you a good idea of that. So this Terra by Battat Nanshiungasaurus is really, really nice. Again, it's the only figure that I know of this species, so that alone gives it a very appealing factor to it. It's really something that I wanted to acquire straight away because I like to try to have as many different species in my collection as I can, and when I know there's a figure out there of a species I don't have, I do really want to get a hold of it. And this one, luckily, was very easy to get a hold of at first. It was consistently at Target. I never had an issue with finding one, and I consistently saw it there all the time. Unfortunately, at some point it got discontinued. I don't have a clue what the reasoning for that discontinuation was, but I really feel like it was a bad idea on the part of Terra by Battat, because overall it's a really, really nice looking figure of an extremely underrepresented species. Again, I don't know too much about the species, other than the fact that we really don't ever see figures of it getting made, and the fact that it is clearly a species of Therizinosaur, and I do also know that it originates from China, so I guess I know a little bit, but not near enough, and I'm definitely going to be looking more into this species in the future, as Therizinosaurs overall are very interesting to me, and their awkward look has really drawn me to them in the past. So this is one of the species of Therizinosaur that I haven't looked too much into, and I definitely intend to very soon. But regardless, this figure specifically is really beautiful. The sculpt, I think, overall is the highlight of the figure. The paint job is nice. It's nothing crazy or super special, but it definitely looks cool. I think it's a really neat paint scheme that they've gone with, but as far as the way that the paint application is applied to Terra by Battat figures, it's never going to give you the highest of quality look because they don't include things like different tones of color throughout as far as like skin tone goes. They usually just give you that one tone of color for each different color included. So it's pretty much your basic paint job for a dinosaur figure, but I really feel like you don't need much more than that when it comes to the Terra by Battat line, and I still think that they always look really good, and it may be one of the appealing factors about the line because it really gives them that strong Terra by Battat feel. And considering that the Terra by Battat line, or specifically Battat, has had a very strong following in the past, myself included, it's one of the things that I personally do really like about them. But some people may not be super sold on the paint job of the Battat figures just because they're not anything over the top or crazy realistic, but I really do still like them, and I think the paint scheme they've gone with on this one specifically looks nice. Definitely something that could have potentially been on this species of dinosaur. But again, the sculpt is definitely the highlight here. It's really fantastic overall. A very cool appearance to it, kind of like I said, looking like maybe it's startled. You can even see just the way that the body is sort of lifting up off of the ground a little bit and maybe taking a step back, and the one hand is down on the ground trying to sort of balance itself out, and then the head is slightly tilted looking toward the ground to its right side. I feel like something may have just startled it a little bit and it's taking a jump back, and that's exactly the feeling that this figure gives me. Whether or not that's what Terra by Battat was going for, I have no idea. That's just the way I feel. Regardless, again, everything as far as this figure goes is really, really nicely done, and if you can search one out, I really recommend picking it up, if anything to complete your Terra by Battat line, but also because it's a beautiful figure of, like I said, a very underrepresented species of Therizinosaur. The only real downside, I think, to the figure is the fact that it probably had feathers, even though I'm pretty sure there are very few fossils that have been recovered of this species, so there is no surefire proof that it did in fact have feathers. But since Therizinosaurs are often associated with having feathers, I would assume that this species probably did have feathers, so there is that slight downside as far as the inaccuracies go, but the figure was made quite a little while back by Dan LaRusso, so we can let that slide. So I will try to find one somewhere on eBay to link you guys to, and include a link in the description to where you can purchase one from there, as that's really the only place I know of that still has them for sale. So make sure you check the description if you are in fact interested in this beautiful Terra by Battat figure, but also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.